Oh, I'm gonna hit the recording. Ta-da! We are now recording. Welcome everybody, and I turned off the waiting room so in case we have some others kind of filter in and out. Chella, I'm glad that you did that because I'm gonna make sure that you keep having the ability to unmute, which is good. So I'm glad you did that. My name is Meredith Whyte. I teach Spanish 1 and 2 this year in Atlanta, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta in Gwinnett. And we have 2 weeks left. Which I realized today when I was looking at my calendar. I was just telling Jenniffer, like planning out live synchronous time with students. And I kept going, no, I don't think so. And like canceling different, because we're just like done over it. Stick a fork in me. Oh my gosh. This year has been a lot. So the poor kids, they're like doing all their assignments. Like, are we going to have, no, whatever, just do something, literally anything. 95, sure. Great. Love it. Like whatever. It's been a lot. So as we kind of wind down here, we've got a special Wednesday night session. So I'm excited for Jenniffer to be here and for her time and for her energy. And I know this topic is important to you. And I'm excited to kind of exchange some thoughts on it, especially as world language teachers. And you and I are both, we're in neighboring states and we're only a couple hours from each other, but the experiences can be very different. So I mentioned that you're in Alabama, but Jenniffer, will you tell us specifically where you are and what you're teaching this year?
Yeah, sure. I am in Anniston, Alabama, and I'm teaching levels 1, 2, and 3, and I am face-to-face. So I'm so sorry you guys are online. I was scared to death going back to school. Really, I was wearing a shield and a mask and a microphone, and I looked like an alien. But I got used to it. I started stripping a little bit. Okay, not really stripping, but I started just taking stuff off. Now I just wear a shield and I just stay away from the kids. So it's been a good year. It's been a weird year, but it's been good where I didn't get COVID, thank God, and it was good. But it's been a challenge. So it's good to be your neighbor. I travel to Georgia a lot. I go to the farmer's market or the Cabs farmer's market all the time because I can't get any plantains down the street from my house. So I have to go to your house to go get it.
We got the good stuff.
Yeah, so we go to Georgia a lot. My husband was a teacher in Fulton County, so he's looking for another job there again. So we're still trying to leak into Georgia all the time. Yep. And we have family there. My husband's family lives in Atlanta.
That's awesome.
Yeah, can't get away from there.
That's what I was saying when you and I first got on before here. I'm like, Gwinnett's easy because we're always in the news. It's just not always great. It's like either for something really awesome and you're like, that's right, cool stuff happening, or you're like, oh my God, it's a lot. But yeah, there's a lot to be said for Georgia, I think, and like the Atlanta area. And I know that was a place you and I, when we spoke previously about, we were just talking about like being from someplace or all the, we were talking about this topic and it was like identity work and all that kind of thing. We both now live in states that we were not raised in, I had no association with Georgia until college. And then I came here for college and it was that thing of like, you find yourself saying, no, I'm not from here. Like, and I don't know, I don't know why we react like that, but it's like a thing we don't want to be associated with necessarily, or we feel is less than something else, or whatever. Like you were talking about with Miami, right? Like, no, I'm from Miami, like I'm not. And it's funny how we do that. I don't know I don't know how you say that now in Alabama, but I'm a little more like,
yeah, that was the same thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were talking about that. All of us inside ourselves somewhere, we're just a little bit racist somewhere. There's something about us that we just don't like somebody else.
Right.
Okay, it doesn't have to be a group of people. It could be just a person and you just feel uncomfortable with that person. And Meredith brought that up, about, wow, yeah, I felt like that. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, that's true. We would say, I'm not from Alabama, but I don't have to say I'm not from Alabama. My accent gives it away. There's no way I was born in Alabama. So people look at me and they're like, you talk funny. And I'm like, you too, buddy. Back at you,
Right.
And sometimes they don't understand what I'm saying. I talk too fast and it's a little embarrassing. Sometimes I feel bad. But now I'm like, look, I love Alabama. I love the trees. I love that I can buy a house for cheap, So my house, I bought it for 47,000, 5 acres, and we built it into this big old house. So yeah, 47,000, 5 acres. So I'm like, look, I can't be ashamed of Alabama, definitely. So
Yeah.
I'm really happy to be here. And George, I tried buying a house. Oof, no.
Right.
I need to be $2 million short.
Yeah, absolutely. Of being like, it's funny because I do the same thing. It's like, you're not from here. I'm like, no, I'm not. But it's then funny to go back to Miami because like you wouldn't like, like when I go back to Illinois, it's like, no, where do you live? And you're off the scene, right? Like you're it's that thing of anytime you move someplace, you're gone. I ask my Chilean colleague about certain things and she's like, that does not happen in Chile. And I'm like, okay, well, you also haven't lived in Chile in 25 years. So like it is like I'm reading it in the news and then we have this weird identity thing where she's like, oh, what is that? And then I'm like, oh, I just thought, and then you're kind of waiting because you leave someplace and you're kind of out of the loop. The conversation I had with her was actually concerning race. And I was like, what is like this? I just read this thing and it's saying that, there's this, not conflict, but that this is kind of a thing, conversation that people are having. It was actually not long after George Floyd was murdered. And she was like, no, that's not a thing. And I was like, okay, it is though, like it is. And how do you say that? Like I'm, like a white lady from the Midwest talking to my colleague, like about the country she was born and raised in. I don't know how and it's just hard to like, I think we constantly reconcile a lot of those things with our identity.
That's true. And when I go to Miami now, I consider Miami home. And sometimes I feel more racism there than in Alabama, and it's hard to say that. But as a Latina, like my husband is a bishop, so he gets invited to preach a lot in different places. And when I go, my hair is like this, and the ladies there, they treat me with honor and everything, but they tell me always, hey, you need some money to get your hair done? And I'm like, no, lady, it took me an hour to get straightened out, to like detangle this hair and put these products. And they're like, but you need to straighten it. I could take you to a salon down the street. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. And then my daughters come with this big old head of hair, curly. Yes. And they're like, ooh, they need to go to the beauty salon. And it's like, oh gosh, I got to deal with colorism here.
Right.
And that's a big deal. Yeah, that's a big deal. I have to deal with colorism. And it's like, I feel like I can't reach Miami because that's where I'm from. Right. Maybe I can. But sometimes I talk to these people and they're like, no, we're not racist. We're not. No, we don't. We're not like that. Like, the denial of, no, we don't. We love everybody. Like they say, the Dominicans say, everybody has a little bit of African in the back of their ears. I'm like, what the heck? Back there? No, it's everywhere. It's all. Why are you saying it only back there? Because Dominicans as a whole, they reject that they're black. Right. So so they say, yeah, we have a little bit of African back here. I'm like, I think it's everywhere. I think it's everywhere. But
man, well, and that's interesting. I think it sounds like the thing we do as world language teachers. We say things, people say things like, oh, well, world language teachers are, we teach language. We're all super open-minded. We're just anti-racist by default. Or they go even further. Right. Thank you, Joe. Joe's like, or like the other thing is with like comprehensible input and TPRS, at some point, somebody somewhere has mixed that like making yourself more comprehensible to students is by default, like more open-minded, abolitionist, anti-racist. Oh, yeah. No, like, right. Exactly.
There's Mary, like, no.
Right. Like not a thing, that is not, you still have to work and I know several people on Twitter have articulated this beautifully. Usually like Dory Conlon Perugini, Adrian Brandenburg, Tasha Buccioni have said like really articulate, like sort of, I don't know, little like capsules of knowledge on that of like, time out, everybody. Like we're nothing by default. And like you said, like Miami being such a beautifully diverse place does not disqualify them from like doing.
Exactly. They're very close-minded. Yeah.
Inappropriate.
In some areas. Yeah.
Absolutely.
As I grow older, I even see my mom. I'm like, whoa, mom, you should know this by now. Ooh. Right. But I can't tell mom what to do. It's in some senses, it's like the mom syndrome. Can't tell certain people because they're already arrived.
Right.
You can't change them. But
yeah. Sorry, mom. Inappropriate.
Mommy.
I was writing.
But I'm so excited.
Oh, go ahead. No, please.
No, no. But anyway, I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited to be with you guys. I wanted to talk. I told Meredith, I said I really want to talk about this topic because it's really sensitive, and I love sensitive topics. Mm-hmm. And I get that little feeling inside of me, just like you probably when a subject comes up and you're like, "Ooh, I don't know if I should talk about that. How are my kids gonna react to this?" And I want to share something with you about after George Floyd. When we went back to school, I told my classroom, I said, "Hey everyone, you know the things that came out in the news and everything. And the school that I work at, it's predominantly white. Okay, I was the only minority for a long time. So I felt like I had the need to tell my students that, hey, I'm here. Come talk to me. Like, please talk to me." Mm-hmm. So I told them, I gave them a whole speech about, hey, everyone, if you need to ask any questions about what's going on in the world today with race and racial issues, I'm open. Now, before I did this, I didn't want to get in trouble. So I told the counselor what I was going to do because I'm no superpower by no means in my school. So I told the counselor and she said, "Oh yeah, Jenniffer, do whatever you want." I'm like, "Yeah, right. I'm going to tell you because if something goes down, at least I'm covered." So I told my counselor, I announced it to the kids. And then I even shared with them a little bit about, hey, you know, I have a son that he's yellow skinned, but he's black. He's considered black. And I'm afraid, guys. I'm afraid that a cop might stop him. Mm-hmm. And every time he tells me he gets stopped by the cop, my heart is like if he calls and he's like, "Mom, I've been stopped." I'm like already just cop and not. I love cops. I have a lot of cop friends. Okay, so it's nothing like that. It's just the way with the position he's in. We've had to train him from small. Hey, you're different. So they're gonna treat you different, but you're still awesome. You're like super awesome. So when he tells me that I get fair, so I went ahead and opened up my heart to my students and told them this. I said, I'm a little afraid for my son. So please, if you have anything you want to say to me, we'll talk in private. You just want to let your heart out. To me, you know, whatever you say, it's gonna be okay. I'm not gonna think you're a racist or nothing. Just come to me and talk to me. Oh my goodness, I had a student come to me. Yeah. So this student came to me and told me the most deepest questions I've ever had in my life. And thank God, I was like, "God, please give me wisdom." I'm always praying, "God, give me wisdom." So he said, "Why do Black lives matter?" They don't matter. Okay. He said that. Now I'm like, okay, I am mature. I am mature and I am a teacher. I could get fired for whatever comes out of my mouth. He's like, "I don't think they matter, Miss Whyte." I said, "I don't think why is there a movement? Why do they matter?" And I'm like, "Sweetie pie, they matter just like you matter." Mm-hmm. What? Am I supposed to pick you over somebody else? I mean, you matter, she matter, everybody matters. They matter. She's like, "Yeah, but they're making such a big deal about this. There's no big deal. All this, they don't matter." I said, "Listen, sweetie pie." I try to soften it by calling them sweetie pie. That's my way of transitioning to, I'm gonna fuss at you. Right. So I told them, "Listen, the reason why they have this movement is because now I don't agree with the organization if that's what you're talking about. No, I think they're starting something like a hate group or something there. I'm all about unity and love, I'm not about that. I'm about the word, the phrase. They matter. They do matter because for so long they didn't matter." And I said, my point of view is that in Latin America, Black people don't matter. Really, they don't matter. In Mexico, there's 1 million Mexicans. If a cop stops a Black Mexican in the street, he has to sing the national anthem because they don't believe he's Mexican. Does that mean that they matter? No, they don't matter. That's why we're doing this. We're saying, look, they matter too. Asians matter. These people matter, okay? It's just that we've ignored them for so long. And then he's like, "Well, George Floyd, he had drugs in his system." Now, I know you guys probably had students like this. And even adults that think like this. But he had drugs in his system, so he died on his own. And I'm like, hey, sweetie pie, if this happened to your dad, would you be saying that? And I had to throw it back on him. Oh, thank God. I mean, I had some divine intervention because I never answered questions like this. I had to throw it back on him. Put yourself there, if it happened to you. And then I even told him, I said, can I ever be a white woman? Like my last name's Whyte. That's as close as to white I could get. Oh, I'm 17% Spaniard, by the way. So I'm like, yeah, I'm 17% white, but can I ever be considered a white woman? And he's like, no, Ms. Whyte, you could never be considered a white woman. And he said it like that, like never. And I'm like, okay, how about you? Would you ever be considered a Black man? He said, no. I said, then, sweetie, you don't understand. You just, there's no way you could, just like I can't understand what it's like to be your mom and your grandma and your great grandma. You can't understand what it's like to be a black man unless you live in it. Like some people have these experiments where they paint themselves all black and they walk around, they live in a city. Another, you've seen those movies where the watermelon man, just like that. But this was an important conversation in my class, and I feel that as world language teachers, we need to be able to open it up because we get to bring up stuff that other people might not talk about. Like if it's a sports coach or anything, they might talk about it in the bus or anything, but in a classroom, probably not. And I was happy that that student came to me and asked me, and he has a good relationship with me. He's very open. Even up to now, we were more open because we had that talk. And at the end of the day, it was more like, hey, is that some things we don't understand. We just don't. There's no way I could understand. I could empathize with you. I can hear your story and I could feel bad for you, but there's no way I could ever understand what it's like. So I guess I left them there. The conversation was a lot longer than that, but it was more like that because he was so totally against it, and you could tell that his parents were too. And I didn't want to try to convince him where he goes back to his parents. I was really scared because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to tell him something. He's going to go back to his mom. Mom's going to tell his counselor. Counselor's going to tell me. Principal's going to tell me, what are you telling these kids? And I said, you know what? I want to tell him stuff that is not going to be like, I'm indoctrinating him or anything. I'm just saying, hey, look, put yourself in your shoes. I could never be like you. You could never be like me, but we're human. So how about we get to understand each other? I don't want to preach hate. As world language teachers, we're all about gluing the thing together. We're gluing the cultures together. We're mixing ourselves with another culture, another language. So therefore we need to be very sensitive about those things. And I don't know if you guys have experienced anything like that. We're opening the floor if you ever want to say anything, but have any of you experienced any student tell you anything like that? Or how do you feel about after George Floyd? Because with me personally, I don't feel like much changed here for me, where I'm at. Not much has changed. But when I look at the news, a lot has changed. Even laws are passing. But how about for you? How do you guys feel about after George Floyd? After you came back to school and you had to face your kids, even online, like what was there any conversation? Was that something that's hidden? Was it something that's open? Did someone say a comment? I want to hear what you have to say. Any of you have anything?
Chella, go for it.
Chella?
Oh, Victoria.
Victoria, go ahead.
Oh, okay, thanks. You can call me Tori. I teach Spanish and I'm in Salamanca, New York. Cool. Was looking for PD, and this is amazing, and I'm so sad I didn't discover this sooner. But our city is actually the only city that's entirely on indigenous territory. It's on a Native American reservation, the only city in the country. And the other language that we actually teach at my school is Seneca, which is Onondaga in Seneca. So, and actually today is MMIW recognition, so missing and murdered Indigenous women. So that's something that we have a lot of awareness about, is not just Black Lives Matter, but also it's one of those things that, like, once you see the racism, you can't unsee it. Once you see the lack of representation, you can't unsee it either. And so that was something that we talked about. And we actually just had a student group this year, student activists, they created a group. So I was really excited to find your web series. I was like, this is amazing. I wish I found this sooner. And the students wanted to get the Progress Pride flag flown at our district. So they created videos. It was all student led and everything. And they presented to the Board of Education and they passed it. And so because it's Pride Month, they're putting it up this month. So so they did that, but that is part of the conversation. This is terrible that I can't remember when that happened, but I don't think we had kids in the building, and we haven't since. We just went back from being remote beginning of February, and our high school is 8 through 12. And so just the 8th graders came back in the beginning. So we've only been like 4 days a week as of like after spring break, which was April, I don't know, 10th-ish or something. So we haven't really talked about anything like that, but we do have a lot of awareness around, we don't do Columbus Day, it's Indigenous Peoples Day and everything like that. So as far as that goes, awareness wise, we have that. And the students are great. They're very involved and proud of who they are for the most part. Some of them have a lot of difficulty around that though too, talking about identity and who they are. And there's a lot of, in fact too, where we are, there's a lot of racism and Trump flags and Confederate flags. It's a really weird mix how you have like the racism right next to each other. So thank you for letting me share.
Wow, that's awesome.
I mean, yeah, it's like awesome and a lot. Yeah.
I know,
like,
that was
a lot to process.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I was just mentioning Columbus to my class yesterday.
Yeah.
Because I was talking, we were doing a unit on mi barrio, my community.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking about Santo Domingo, I was doing the connection. So I was saying in mi barrio, this is Christopher Columbus' house. I'm from Santo Domingo. This is where he lives, and you can go visit his house, and this is his monument. But we don't like him, and everybody's like, "Oh, you don't like Columbus? Right. What? Like, what is wrong with you?" No, he's horrible. Him and his son. Okay, it's in history. He did horrible things to my country and to the people there. We don't have any more Taino Indians anymore. It's like, okay, they wiped them out. It's like, no, we don't do Columbus either. We don't do Columbus Day. I'll say that it's Columbus Day, but I'm like, I always tell them, look, this is not what we do. But I'm glad that you do that too, and I'm excited about the Indigenous women. What's the name of the organization?
It's MMIW. I'm gonna grab my shirt that I had on today. I have a mask too. The symbol is a red hand across the mouth.
Oh, wow.
And they are the #1 group of women who are in the country that are missing or murdered and not investigated. I got to show you the shirt I had on today. We also have HIP Week, which stands for Honor Indigenous Peoples, and that's the week that is otherwise celebrated as Columbus Day. This is the shirt I had on today.
Oh wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Beautiful,
it's really beautiful art. Yeah. And so we do fundraisers. We have the Seneca, the honor, like National Honor Society. We have like a Spanish group too. I can't think of what it's called, but Seneca Council. They our students, they have that. It's really cool too, actually. When we do graduation, a lot of the students who are Indigenous wear their regalia, which is really neat.
Cool.
So the gastoet are the hats. It's beautiful. It's a really amazing thing that I get to see.
Tell me again the city in New York that you live.
Salamanca. It sounds like Salamanca, Spain, but they say Salamanca.
That's cool.
Yep, Salamanca.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that, Tori.
Thank you for letting me share. I was very excited. Yes. So thanks.
No problem.
Yeah. Thanks.
Chella, you're up.
Yeah, thanks for that. What came to mind when you were asking this is, so I'm in New York City, and I teach at a private school in Manhattan. And so what's been interesting for me is, I think it started more with like, for our whole student body, it started more with the connections with the climate march and with Greta Thunberg coming to town last year, right? Kids just became more connected. I say kids, whether they're middle school or high schoolers, became more engaged and connected, whether they themselves were marching or whether they were just seeing it out the streets. But there was something kind of beautiful that happened, you know, as a teacher, where you could see like, oh, like they have this awareness of these topics. So first it was with the climate march, right? Let's like leave school and go march with Greta and do this activism. And then of course in the summer it became the Black Lives Matter protests. And, you know, some of my students were out there, or at least they were seeing it, right? The news kind of hit our streets, if that makes sense. And so I think that has been interesting, working in a city where I feel like, whereas sometimes I'm like, well, how can I touch on this if I only have 1 or 2 class periods this week? You know, time is limited. We have a scripted curriculum. So I'm always trying to find little ways to like tease these topics, and always left with that unsettled feeling of like, it's hard to just tease one of these topics, but at the same time, I want to let them know that that door is open and that I want to name it, right? I think you spoke wonderfully to that. So for me, I think like that's been kind of the hook, or that common ground of like, oh, here are some signs. Was anyone there? What is this about? What is this? So that activism that has been engaging more youth locally and nationally, I think just has been a gift to just, you know, keep my spirits up when things are heavy, to look at the people hitting the streets and look at those young faces out there, but also just knowing that whether that student is engaged, you know, in that good trouble, like John Lewis said, or just they're seeing it, I feel like it makes it so much easier, even if time is limited, to like touch on that and say like, oh yeah, this happened in the news. So just having those visuals is a big asset.
You're right. Yeah, that's something I don't have. Definitely, I don't have my students going in the street and doing. I saw one protest in Alabama in the main street. There was 4 students. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like it was ignored where I'm at.
Right.
Yeah, it broke my heart. It was totally ignored. Like nothing ever happened. Nothing. There was no violence here or anything. I've talked to the police department before, and I've asked them, hey, how do you feel? Because I'm crazy. How do you feel about approaching a black person? Like, are you scared of them or something? Like my husband's really scary, and every time they stop him, they stutter. And you know, my husband's very sure of himself, and he's dark skinned, and he's like, yes, sir. Like he's sure of himself, so he's not like, you know, scared. So I told the cop, I said, how do you feel about stopping a black guy? And he's like, well, yeah, we are afraid because we don't know what they're gonna do. We don't know if they're gonna pull out a gun. We don't know. I said, so do you feel less afraid with a white guy? And they're like, yeah. And I'm glad they were being honest. I just want to know. We're just humans here. It's okay to tell me that, okay, they look a little scarier. Why? Why do they look a little scarier? Well, because they look like they're going to be rough and tough and just tear you up in 1 minute. And my husband gets stopped a lot. Like one time we got stopped because we wanted to know the price of a school building. Okay, a school building. Now, a school building for you guys is humongous and a bunch of acres. This is like 1 acre of land and just a school that's standing up like four or 5 floors. So he stops there, and the cop comes and says, sir, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm just waiting on the realtor because he's going to give me a ride. He's like, oh, I have people, you know, complaining that you're over here, stranger, suspicious. Now, we're in a van with a bunch of kids making noise. And the van's probably moving like this and people sticking out their head out the window. Like, really? So we're like, no, officer, I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting here. And then another time, my husband went to open the church building with his key. He was working for this other church, and he went to open with his key, and they called the cops on him. And they call the cops on him like at least once a month. And the cops would like stick up their guns at him. And he's like, oh God, not this again. He got used to it. He's like, oh gosh, not this. Hey, I'm the pastor. I have the keys. And it was a predominantly white neighborhood. I got the keys. Oh, there's no black pastors at that church. Well, I'm not considered black. I'm Latino. So if you call the church, don't tell them a black man. Tell them the Panamanian pastor. So then they called. Sure enough, they called. They said, there's this black man over here. He says the pastor. And the church said, we don't have no black pastors. So he's like, sir, I'm going to handcuff you. And he's like, sir, please, can you listen? I am Latino. Just, this is the way things are. Just tell him that I'm Latino. And then he's like, he said that he's Hispanic. Oh, that's Reynaldo. Yeah, he's fine. He got the key. And we're like, yo, you should have known by now. But those are things that we got to deal with here. All the time. I could tell you all day long about the things that happen with my son, my husband. It doesn't happen much with me. I've been stopped before and they asked me for my passport. And I was like, oh, wow, it's amazing that I have it right here. But why do you need my passport for? Oh, because you're not a veteran. I said, how do you know? Because I have a veteran's tag, but that's my husband's tag. It belongs to my husband. Well, you're not a veteran. I'm like, but it's my husband's car. I could drive a car with a veteran tag. Like, he was giving me a hard time, and I had an appointment. I'm like, officer, what is your deal? Let me get your badge number because this is ridiculous. And it's like, come on, guys, come on. And it's like things like that. It's like stuff that you want to know, what is it in the cop's brain that makes them want to react the way he does. I love cops, I do, and love cops' families, but I just want to know why. And when you know that they're just a little afraid, then maybe you could empathize a little bit and be like, okay, maybe they're afraid, but maybe they should battle that. Maybe they should target that. Maybe they should take some classes, or, you know, they should have a police department training. You know, what do you think, guys? I mean, maybe some kind of training for them if they're feeling like that and they're telling me this, but they won't tell other people that. I mean, something's going on that they're afraid. And we don't know why. Well, we probably know why, but I don't know.
Well, and I think we see a similar power dynamic in school. You know, how many times we talk about this a lot at my school, because my school's really, really evenly split. My school actually mirrors the community that we're in. And so like, you'll see, especially right now, like right here in COVID, you know, we've got 20% of the school is at school, 80% is virtual. So, I mean, hall passes, who needs hall passes? Like, kids are just like wandering. It's like, oh, Mary's just going to the bathroom. Mary, nobody else is here. Go on, vete ya. You know, like whatever. Go forth and conquer. Be gone 30 minutes. I don't even care. Like it, whatever. At this point, like just get your steps in, okay? Because we're all sedentary and we've all gained weight, okay? Like just get out of here. And because there's nobody in the hall. But when you are in the hall and when you do see kids off task, whatever that means, it's like I said, it's a frequent point of discussion at my school that we go, why did you not talk to those kids, but you stopped those kids? Because our school is like a third Asian, typically first generation Korean American, and a third Black, a third white, and then like a 10 to 20% kind of, I should say, a third like Eastern Asia, mostly Korean. And then we've got that other like 10% that's kind of like Middle East, from the Middle East, other parts of Asia, etc. And so it's like you walked right past the white kids, who don't have hall passes, you walked past the Asian kids who don't have hall passes or do, but there's like 10 kids walking together and they might be doing something. You know, you can tell when kids are doing something in the hall for like a project because it's like, okay, now you stand and they've got the camera or whatever. But you stopped the 3 Black students and said, you know, where's your hall pass? Whose class are you in? Where are you going? Fix your hoodie. Like it's this whole like 20 question rundown. And so we recently looked at our discipline numbers and, you know, have had some really hard conversations about that because the discipline numbers per usual in many places do not mirror the enrollment numbers for the demographics. So you've got just as many students from different demographics, like just as many white students or white presenting, or just as many Asian students who are, you know, skipping or, you know, whatever, but they're not like literally stopped in the hall as often or questioned, or, you know, the penalty gets a little more severe when we look at our Black and Hispanic students. And that's a conversation that we're having now in a lot of ways in policing, but we also need to keep having in schools because so much of school reflects so much of policing, with the power dynamics, with the control, with the like dangle the carrot, like, listen, little lady, you want to get out of here and go to your appointment? Then just give me what I want. Just be quiet and cooperate. A lot of it's like, be quiet and cooperate, be quiet and cooperate. And so is school. Oh, okay. You don't care, Tori? I'm putting in a 0. Does anybody else have anything to say? And it's like, oh my God, like when did we know when we became this since like the beginning of school, but like, wow, you know, it's just, and I think that's where we get all those crappy narratives from, like grit. And like you and I were talking, you know, like, oh, but you did it, you did well, but that's, you know, no, he's one of the good ones. Like we've talked about this, like, ick, you just get all these gross narratives that do not paint the full picture. And it's really hard to get people to be honest about what fuels that belief. Like you said, like, just be honest. What makes you afraid? Like, why are you afraid to stop these students or to confront these students? And so what ends up happening, at least in my school, and I love my school, I love where I am, I'm super lucky, knock on wood, whatever, like love where I am. But what happens is so many people are so afraid to confront different issues with different students, is that now students like run the place in a lot of ways. Oh. Like now students know that they're not going to get stopped because they're like, oh, well, I'm always, whenever I always skip team sports, or I always skip biology and go to team sports, and nobody ever says anything to me because it's just like, oh, hey, like the way they always do, like they do school. Oh, hey, what's up, Miss Block? Oh, hola, senora. Hey, da-da-da-da. And it's like, oh, hey, Jimmy. And they just keep on walking through. But you've got a kid who maybe doesn't say, hey, maybe doesn't know people. And it's like, excuse me, where are you supposed to be? And, you know, we're in this thing, in this cycle.
That is so true. I never thought about it like that. That's so true. Yeah, I don't work in a school like that, but I love my school too. I love my students a lot. And I have students that are from Pakistan and Asian, from Vietnam, and let me see what else, Indian, few, very few, those people of color.
Yeah.
And they gravitate to me. It's like they come to me, and I have to be careful because I get in trouble because they come to me. They don't go to the counselor. And it's like,
right. You're like,
sorry, I'm the mama here for some reason. Why do the Asians come to me? Don't know. I managed to take some Asians to Mexico and cross the border, and I was scared to death. I was scared to death because everybody's like, you're taking some Chinese over the border. I'm like, yeah, I am. And they're like, you can't do that. They don't have their citizenship. They're here on a student visa. I'm like, watch me, I'm gonna do it. And I'm like reading, oh gosh, I hope I can bring them back. And sure enough, we crossed the border in a yellow bus. We crossed the border, and at the border they tell us, you cannot come in here. Why? Because you're a yellow bus. Is this discrimination? It has to be a white bus or another color. I'm like, God, do I live this every day? Yeah, it gotta be another color that's not yellow. I'm like, what the heck? It's because the yellow buses are the buses they have, and it looks like if we're trying to steal their business. So,
oh, weird.
Like, oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, so they didn't let us cross the border past 20 miles. So our whole trip was like, we had to rearrange everything and do everything in Nuevo Laredo, which is like the first city, which is the most dangerous city. What? I didn't know until I left.
Yes, and you're like, are we?
You see me here, I'm here. But yeah, we talked to this guy, and we're like, hey, I'm kind of concerned about the Chinese guys. Are we gonna be able to cross back? He's like, yeah, let's just cross the border on foot, and we'll see if they'll let them back in. And I'm like, cross the border on, okay, there's a new experience. Okay. We crossed the border on foot, it cost $2. Crossed the border, left Mexico, went into left Mexico, went into the U.S., Texas. And when we crossed that border, the patrol told me, they're natives and I'm here. Okay, I had a jacket. It looks like I'm doing something bad, but I'm like, right here, sir, I'm the teacher. I'm the teacher. Here's their papers. So they're like, where's their, oh, right here, sir. And I have everything like stuffed everywhere because I'm used to traveling with kids all over the country. So I have everything hidden in my jacket. So I'm like, oh, right here. Do you need money too? What do you need? Like, let my kids out of this country. And sure enough, they went through, they did good and came back. But I got the evil eye. You know, a lot of people told me, you're not supposed to be taking kids out of the country. Like, national kids from China. But I took them out, and it was a great experience because they've never seen Chinese kids in that part of Mexico. So they were celebrities, instant celebrities.
Oh, I was watching Joe's face. Joe's at like an international school with like, I don't even know the percentage, Joe, of like exchange students, and I can't imagine you taking some of your international students. Or actually, I can. Do they ever go? Because Joe's in Connecticut. Like, do they ever go up to Canada? Is that the same? Like, how? I just was watching your face go like, oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, well, no,
I know,
like,
Joe. I'm okay, Joe. I'm okay.
I've taken like some of our international students on our international tours as well. And like, and that's what, you know, so like, sort of talking about these hard conversations, right? Like, those are moments, like on those tours I've had challenging conversations with my students. But like, so for example, when we were going into the EU, I had a student, a Chinese national student, and you know, we're going through the passport control at the EU, and the guy is giving my Chinese student a hard time, and so I was like staying with him because his English wasn't great. He was one of our lower level English language students. And so I was like, I don't need, like, now we're in Germany. Like, I'm trying to just make sure I can be with him and support him. Anyway, long story short, like, they're concerned that he's going to come in and stay his tourist visa. And so they're like, do you have money? Like, how, like, with what money are you planning to support yourself on this tour? And like, not for nothing, these students are making a lot, like, these students' families have money. So sure enough, the kid just pulls out a lot of euros and dollars, like a massive amount of money. And like the guy's like, have a good trip. And I'm like, meanwhile, sir, if you had asked me if I had enough money to support myself for that amount of time.
or me at the end of our Cuba trip.
Oh my goodness. I understand you, Joseph. Now, I had like $50,000 on my person only because I had everybody's tip money. You know, with EF, you gotta have all the tip money on you.
Girl,
so I had
you gotta get
money in my hat.
Airport,
I had money here. pockets everywhere, and I was scared. I said, okay, mug me, they'll only take the jacket. Okay, I have to put money on my left pocket, the right pocket. I had
jokes on you. I got more in my pocket.
I don't want to go there, but yeah,
it's like
I don't want to go there, but yeah.
When my other students were like, why was How taking so long? Why was How taking so long? And so like that's where the hard conversation came. Like I'm like, you know what? He was taking so long because he's Chinese. Like, let's talk about it.
Yep.
The assumptions that
I had a kid from
I
had a kid from Pakistan that he got stopped when we went to Spain. He got stopped in everything. Oh, I hated that.
Yeah, well, it's that, and then it's the conversations, and then it's like the pre-conversation to the conversation, and then I know you and I talked about this. We also have opposite school demographics. Like I teach maybe 8 students who aren't people of color. I have maybe 8 students in my whole load that look like me. And so we have very like different, and so it's like you're like walking on eggshells because you don't, you're like, am I allowed to, dabble in that conversation?
I don't walk on eggshells anymore, though. My first year, I don't. You know what? I had to just be happy with who I am. The first year I was there, scared to death. I've never, and I'm sorry, I'm coming from a good place, so please don't get offended, but I've never worked around white people before. It's just the truth. I came from Miami, came here. Then they said, oh, you got offered this job at this school. Is rich people are rich in there. All the senators' kids, congressmen's kids, and all this stuff. And I was having bad dreams about going there. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I gonna be okay? Straightened my hair. Look how hair throws an identity flip on me. I straightened my hair. My classroom was full of colors, and I was like, let me paint it all white, painted everything white, just try to be like my other teachers. The other teachers had everything white, everything was so perfect, and to me, white people are perfect. I'm sorry, that's what I feel. Like, not really, but you look perfect. You're perfect. You guys are perfect, okay? And I'm like, I'm not perfect. I can't seem to straighten this hair. I gotta like go like this, and you guys just go like this.
You're talking. Listen, I gave up.
These are my conceptions, okay? These are my personal biases. So I thought, no way. Well, the first year when I took people to Spain, this is what happened. I went and asked a parent. I went to, because this is my first year, and they threw me into the trip. And I don't know why. They put me in charge. And I was like, gosh, how am I in charge of Spain? I just got here. So I started asking parents questions and everything about kids. I saw that there was a kid that had a boyfriend. So I said, hey, you guys, ma'am, she's a doctor now. Ma'am, they're not allowed to have sex, right? Because we don't do that. The lady's eyes were like this. Oh, you're accusing my daughter of sex. I'm like, oh no, ma'am. Oh,
yes, I'm accusing all teenagers of sex. Yes.
Ma'am, please calm down. Ma'am, calm down. I'm not from around here. I'm from the urban community. Please, ma'am. Please know where I'm coming from. I'm new to the school. I'm trying to get to know the kids. This is something I would have asked parents from another urban community. I'm so sorry. Please don't get me fired.
So sex, yay or nay? What are we doing, ma'am?
She just sliced me open to the board of directors. What kind of teacher is that? Saying that my daughter is sexually active, and I'm like, I never said that. She told everybody, and then the student hated me, the boyfriend hated me, the whole 11th grade hated me. Oh, Senora Whyte, we can't trust her. She's saying we're sexually active, and we're not. Okay, you're not. Okay,
aren't you?
So automatically, I was like that really bright spot in the room with everything white, the white paper with that splot of red or white or black or whatever. I felt like that in that school. Felt so uncomfortable. Try to be white. I tried to be white. My last name's Whyte. I can do it. I can be white. No. Let me tell you, it did not work. I cannot be white. There's no way. So the kids started complaining about some racist thing. They called me in the office. Do you think this is racist? And I said, you know what? I'm done being white. I told the whole administration. I said, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm done being white. What do you mean? What are you talking about? I said, I've been faking it this whole time. It's time I defend these kids. They're talking about racism. It's time I take this thing off, puff the hair up, and be myself. Oh God, why'd I do that? I'm gonna have to be myself. And when I realized, okay, being myself is the appropriate thing to do. Cannot be fake, okay? I cannot try to be somebody I'm not, because how will I do my job effectively? How can I defend these kids if I'm acting like something else? Just like you guys can't act like you're black. Like, there's no way. Like I know people in my school, they always say, hey, dog, yo, dog, but they're white. And it's like, okay, stop. It's just so much you can do. so much of that. It's cool to say, hey, what's up? It's okay to use the language, but when you're always talking with that deep voice, yo, dog, I'm like, okay, sir, you can stop now. It's offensive.
No mas.
Okay, so
it's offensive.
You know, it's like, it's offensive. So I encourage you as teachers to be yourself. It's okay if you're not, because the way the world is going with the critical race theory stuff, is that what it's called?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, if this is gonna come in and it's gonna switch. It's gonna be like, white kids are gonna feel uncomfortable, black kids are gonna get all this attention, black kids are gonna be, you know, more black people are gonna be given jobs, more, it's gonna be switched. So if you could just be yourself all the time, then when the switch comes, you're still there to nurture whoever needs nurturing, be there for whoever needs support, because really that's all we can do. That's all we can do. And sometimes some teachers tell me, what do I do in this situation? I say, you're gonna have to be yourself. Stop acting like you're something else that you're not. And that's hard, because in the United States, we are, as a whole, the culture is, you know, you be this to these people, you be this to these people. And I understand. You be this to these people, be this. And you understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying like, you know, if you're laid back, be laid back everywhere. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like, you know, just be yourself. Or there's that honesty part of you where it shows who you really are everywhere you go. And even the students can see that. So,
well, there's a cultural,
there's a question.
You know, there's a cultural, like, companies coming over, clean up the living room kind of a thing, like keeping up with the Joneses, like put on your Sunday best. We're gonna go. We're smiling in the picture. We're smiling, you know, that kind of a thing. And Florencia's question actually reminds me. I think those conversations with colleagues as well. We had a really emotional conversation in my department about 2 weeks ago about this, because a colleague was expressing how she felt as a Black woman and as the only Black person in our department. You know, like, when is it performative? When is it not? You know, like, she was just feeling frustration, going like, you know what? I know my life matters. You don't have to put a sign on your door to remind me that my life, you know, she was just like frustrated. And then all of the conversations we've had around like these different, in my school, like, and district, whatever, about training and, you know, all those kind of things. She's like, she's got a daughter about to enter kindergarten. So she's really reflecting on school, you know, and she's like, really, do my kids' teachers need to take a special class to learn how to teach her? Like, she's a kid, just like every other kid. So she was expressing very vulnerable concerns about how this experience has felt for her, you know, and we sometimes dive into things like that. We do one-on-one all the time, very frequently, but in a group, that was a different conversation collegially, kind of thinking through what you want to say really carefully. And again, being yourself, but really kind of managing those emotions, but also like the feelings and the honesty and all of that was really interesting. And like I said, it was a very like emotional conversation, but like Florencia said, you know, any tips to get students comfortable talking about race or racism, so they're not just, you know, oh, that's too bad, that's wrong, that's a shame, and maybe getting them to open up a little bit more. I don't know if you have any.
That's right, Florencia. That's something that yeah, my students are like that. They get quiet. If I talk about race, they're like, let's not talk about that. You know, I still have kids that are totally closed off. But what I do is that if I have the kids for the first year in Spanish 1, I wait towards the end of the year after I know that they can trust me. You know, it's not something I could just bring up. You know, it's just towards the end of the year, it's kind of like they're evaluating me. So I ask them questions. I have a questionnaire I can share. Just Meredith, remind me to share this resource with everyone. But there's this questionnaire that I have that it says, do you know what race is? How many races are there in the world? Just trying to find out, what do they know? Right. Most of them don't know. And I tell them, have you ever had a teacher that's not white? You know, because these are my kids. You have to adapt it to your kids. Right. But have you ever had a teacher that's not white? Then they're like, what does that mean? Somebody that's not like me. Look, it's me. I'm not white, so you could put me. So they're like, oh, okay, yeah. But they need help. But at first, you don't help them. You just let them say whatever you think that means. Just write it. And the questions are going into like, have you ever, what do you think about, you know, people of a different color? What do you think? This is not, don't put your name on it. And I took this on an ACTFL conference one time. I had them fill it out, and then I had the people in the conference read it. And I said, hey, you guys read what the students are saying. And a lot of them were saying that a lot of them don't even know. It's not a question. Where do you learn about race, really? Where do you go learn about race? Right. It's not at school. You learn it from TV. You learn what your friends say. The rap music, they're saying that word. So I need permission to get that word. I've had my daughter, since she's the only Afro-Latina in her 9th grade class, they've told her, hey, Lizzie, give us the N pass. And she's like, oh, I don't even say that word. Yeah, Lizzie, tell me I can say it so I can go say it. No, I don't say that.
I'd rather not.
And you know, it's like, oh gosh, why? They don't know. It's because they don't know. So if I had to come to the conclusion like, okay, I don't get offended at all about anything they say, because I'm like, they're ignorant. They just don't know. Who's teaching them? They're getting the information from TV, from their parents. Whatever their parents' beliefs are, that's what they're going to believe. And I've had students come up to me and say, oh, my parents don't like this group of people, but you started teaching and I thought you were Mexican and you're not Mexican. And I said, it doesn't matter if I'm not Mexican. I represent a lot of people. Okay, so if I'm okay, anybody else could be okay. But people like me are bad too. You know, I have to tell them that too. There's bad Black people, bad Hispanic people, bad everything. And then there's good. Okay, that's why I try to be the best Dominican ever to everybody. Because I'm like, I want to give a good representation of what a Dominican is, even though there's a lot of bad ones out there. But I like to tell my students that.
Man.
Oh, Chela, you had a question?
A lot. Yeah. Martha, well, I think your hand.
Yeah, Martha, you had your hand up first.
Yeah,
Martha, okay.
Hey, I have just a couple of comments. One for Florencia. I do think that sometimes the students do not participate because we just bring this up once. And it's a hard one to just bring it up once or twice. Now, if that's something that is a lens into your classroom, if that's something that it becomes part of every lesson that you do, students start opening up a lot. I mean, this is a topic that affects everybody, maybe not as a theoretical framework of race or anything, but how it affects all of us. So I make sure that no matter what I talk about, this is the discrimination in linguistic and in sociological, economical, every type of discrimination is part of our conversation. With Chauvin's trial, I tried one thing that worked really well for Florencia for the kids to talk. And it was kind of improvised, and I was very surprised that it worked. I had the Spanish news reporting on the aftermath of the trial. And what I did is I played just the sound first. And I say, just take notes of anything that you hear that gets your attention, words here and there. These are heritage language learners, so they know the language, right? So they picked here and there. And then I showed the images with no word, with no sound whatsoever. So I asked them to pick images that stuck with them, and they did. And they were very, very powerful. And then we did both together. So it was kind of an exercise that opened up so much from the students that we watched the news. You know, we didn't, and then we stopped it at certain places that the students told me, can you please stop it when the little girl is grabbing the ant and the ant is crying and the little girl is looking at her. And so we looked for that image and we stopped it. And then we just had a conversation about that. And it made us feel closer, although I do not teach Afro-Latinos. 90% of my students are Mestizo Mexicans. If we're talking skin color, that's the only reason why I say the word Mestizo, right? And it was very, very powerful because we got stories on when some of their family members have died and how we react. And if a family member dies in an unjust situation, and it can happen to anybody, how do you react? You know, and I have students whose some siblings and cousins and family members have been killed by gang activity. So it is not the same. It's not by authority, but in a sense, it is an unjust killing. So things like that, where you just don't open up, like, let's talk about this, because it's very hard on everybody, but just little by little, like it's really scaffolding, emotionally scaffolding, really work wonders. But we already trusted each other. I don't think I could have done that in a group that I didn't trust, or they didn't trust me. This is all remote. I don't see, like, I don't see my students. I talk to boxes all day, and sometimes they open up and I'm like, let me see your hair today, but that's it. So it's kind of, it was incredible for me to read in the chat what they had to say, and in the class comments what they had to say, because nobody unmuted and talked. So I think it worked really well.
Wow, that's a good activity, and you're right about building it, because I remember today I talked about Cinco de Mayo. We had a Cinco de Mayo party with no food, of course. But one of the things I said was, I was talking about culture, Mexican culture, and I brought in the Afro-Latinos, and I said, oh, you know what? There's 1 million Mexicans in Mexico, and they get stopped by the cops. I just bring that in, since we're talking about Mexico. Then if we're talking about Peru, I bring in about the Afro-Peruvians, or the music, or you're right. Incorporating that all year round, all the time, is just the way to go. Yeah, Chela?
Yeah, and you just mentioned what I was going to refer back to when you talked about that, about, the example of being asked to sing the national anthem, right? Or some kind of like presenting that proof of value, that proof that you matter, that proof that you're where you're supposed to be. And I think that was powerful, because like as language teachers, we're great with those gimmicks of like, we're talking about food, so let's translate this into different cultures, or we're talking about what does transportation look like, right? Those like cheesy textbook topics. But I think like that's a powerful way to approach current events too. Like I remember last spring, as the Women's March in Mexico was happening, right? And we were doing remote learning. So with my Spanish 5, I was like, oh, this is a great, feminist topic to bring in. I teach at a girls' school. And so again, having like, oh, like a lot of us marched at the Women's March in NYC, like there's that connection. But I love what you said there, because I think, one, we have to be careful, and I'm conscious of this, like we don't want to just like bring trauma into the classroom when that might be their only escape. And that's a really tricky thing to navigate as a white teacher right now, is like, am I teaching this because it's like, oh, this would be great for us to talk about, like, but is this the right time and space, and how are we approaching it? But I think sometimes like that's powerful when you can say like, wow, this is happening. Like, what does this look like in other places? Whether like you're saying, if you're just trying to engage kids to start to think about it, or whether you have more, woke kids that are out there marching, or anywhere in between. I think just that ability to say, let's look at this, but let's look at where this manifests itself in other cultures or cities or whatever. I think that's powerful, right? Because then we start to really see the issue. It's not just one story. It's what are the structural, what's kind of the underbelly of that, the racism. So that was powerful when you mentioned that example of Mexico.
That is awesome. And I see the comments here. Thank you, Chela, about how Malta says that their reactions were different when her students were AP Spanish students and they're white. That's where I'm at. It's like some of them never do. No, some of them never do. And I realize about the white culture, and you tell me, you correct me, okay? But there's a lot of things they can't talk about. It's like, hush, hush, very private. Very private. We can't go there. Like if I say, oh my gosh, my sister looks so ugly today, I can say that, but they're like, oh, how could you call your sister ugly? Right. I said, well, don't you call your sister ugly in the bedroom when you're over there? Like, come on, guys, be real. Stop. Like, I'm trying to like get them for this shell too. Like, listen. I know, like my sister was in Dominican Republic, and it was her birthday, and we always sing happy birthday to her as a class, and I send it to her wherever she's at. And her name is Little Brown Girl. She's like she's an actress in New York. Yeah. She's an actress in New York. She's amazing and such crazy. But anyway, I sent her a message with my students in Spanish. So she sent a message back, but she was in the Dominican Republic and her hair looked horrible, and she just looked horrible. Like, you just woke up and you're talking to my kids. Like, I was like, why didn't you comb your hair? Like, put lipstick on or something? Like, you looked awful. So I was like, OMG, guys, my sister looks so ugly. Why is she looking like they're like, oh, Miss Whyte, she was so nice to put them. I said, guys, be real. If it was your sister, okay, and you're trying to impress your students, and your sister looking crazy, and she's a celebrity, and she's, well, how would you feel? And a lot of times I have to pull that out of them, but it doesn't come out. It's like,
absolutely,
I want them to be honest with me, and they're not. They can't. It's like if it's, I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to explain it because I'm not that. But in the Dominican Republic, we are very hypocritical. Dominicans are they're like, you're so cute. And it's an ugly person. You look so cute, look at those shoes. Oh my gosh, you're so cute. And they're not cute. They're ugly. You're just trying to impress them so you can get a job, or you're trying to impress them because you know your mommy's sister's friend. And so you're trying to impress her so you can look good. So they're simpáticos, those are what we call simpáticos. But I had to learn. I hated that. I hated when my parents did that. They were fake around certain people, and then in front of me they're the real deal. I hate that. So I grew up
too. Like your mom's customer service voice is like, hi, this is, I'm like, she does not sound like that. You should hear her in the house. Like she is mean. But hello.
I know.
No.
And that's why I appreciate you, Meredith, because there's this teacher look and the teacher voice. And I have a problem with that. I like get a little ghetto sometimes, and I'm a professional now. I'm getting my master's in 3 days. I'm getting my master's. So I'm like, I'm getting my master's soon. I should be talking very proper. Thank you. Actually, in 3 days. I'm getting my master's next week, and I don't have my cap and gown. I need a navy cap and gown. I'm putting it out there. I don't have one. Anyway, so changing the subject. So I'm thinking, okay, I need to be more collegial. Is that a word? I need to be more professional and put my head up like this, because people with education, they don't act like, they act different. Even in the Hispanic
whole narrative.
Like, licenciada, maestra Jenniffer Whyte, licenciada, and I have to, like, if I go back home, I can't act like this. They'll think I'm a joke. There you go. So it's like, even I've had to, like, really going back to loving myself, accepting the way I am. I just can't. I can't go. The day I go to Dominican Republic to give a speech, because they're already trying to get me over there, I don't know. I'm gonna have to be like that Selena movie. You remember that Selena movie where she didn't speak English, and they're like, they're gonna hate her. She doesn't speak English. I mean, she doesn't speak Spanish. And then she speaks Spanglish, and everybody's like, "Yay! You're just so cute. You're just so cute, Selena. You're just so cute." So I'm like, I hope I get the Selena reaction. She's so cute. Look at her puffy hair that we hate. We hate this puffy hair in Santo Domingo, but we love her. It's like, I hope I get that, but I don't know if I will.
Oh, amazing.
Thank you, Mary.
I think it's
Mary. I love your energy. I'm like,
disrupting. I know. Mary's like, yeah. I think it's disrupting that narrative too. Like we've said a couple of times on the series. We've just been like, you know what, blah 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 is bullshit. And then it's like, are we allowed to say bullshit? I'm on my school Zoom.
Like, who's gonna watch this thing? Only the Georgia schools?
My HR follows me on Twitter. Is this bad? Who cares? Whatever. Because I think being whoever we are is so much more obviously helpful and appropriate and all the things, because it's busting those narratives of like, this means this and this means this, and there is so much around race that we don't talk about because we're so concerned with appearances, and we're so concerned, like, for so many people, racist is the worst thing you can be called, where, like you said, you're like, everybody is a little bit, like, everyone's got these privilege points. I don't know if that's a thing, but I'm going to call them that, privilege points, where you go, ooh, but at least I'm not those people. But at least I'm not, or like, at least everybody, like we said, you're like, oh, I'm not from Alabama. And it was the same thing. It was like when I realized that I grew up in this super tiny town in the Midwest, and we would say 3,000 people, fewer people in my hometown than are in my school. And I realized that we called, like, people who listen to country music, we were like, they're kind of country. Even though we lived a mile away, in town, it was like, no, I live in town. I live in town. And then the person in, like, the really big house in town, oh, her family is rich. Like, okay, girl, nobody's rich in little Oregon, Illinois. Okay, 0 people. Like, nobody is rich there. But it's But it's funny how we do that. Like that to me was the ultimate, like, great place to live, great, like that's the whatever, that's home, that's my, you know, that's identity, that's so many things. And then you're someplace else that you still see lesser than, or there's a group of people that you see lesser than. And it's just, it's interesting how we conceptualize all that. And then we go, oh, I should be more of this, or I should be more of that. And that's kind of what my colleague was speaking to as well. She was like, I'm just tired of, you know, the following things. And she was really opening up, and it was all of that identity work of just like, I'm tired of walking on eggshells. She was saying, I'm tired of not having this conversation with you in my department, like the people I love. I'm tired of thinking I'm going to sound like the angry Black woman. I'm tired of thinking that I can't say, I think that's stupid, or I think that's ignorant. And we were like, and that's a conversation you've got to have, I think, you know, continually, if you're really going to kind of talk the talk, walk the walk. Mary, you had unmuted for a second. Was there something you were going to add? Because you're right here by me.
Yes. So my situation is actually very different. I've had a few thoughts throughout this, and but I first want to say, Jenniffer, your attitude is such a gift to me tonight. It's an unexpected gift, that because I feel like in watching you and your attitude about this, I realize that I'm carrying too much anger. I get so angry. I live in an area that where people are very narrow-minded. Most of my school is white. I'm Jewish. There are 3 Jewish teachers at my school, and I have 2 kids that are at a high school in the next cluster over that have experienced anti-Semitism. You know, and it's just, I'm working really hard to do better and be better. And I just get really angry. And watching you tonight, I've realized like that doesn't really, I mean, I don't outwardly show my anger, but I feel it inside. I feel it. And I don't think I realized how much I was carrying until I'm watching you. Just kind of your attitude is fantastic. So I appreciate.
There's so much more I want to tell you, but.
Oh yeah, another time.
She's got the tea when we're not recording. And I'm like,
and just real quickly, because I don't want to take more time, but one of my students this year was at the January 6th riot at the Capitol. It was a family trip. That is hard for me. That is hard for me. And I fostered a good relationship with her, but like, I feel I physically, like when I tell you your attitude was a gift, like honestly, the anger, she's in my last class of the day, my 8th period. And I just say stuff, I address stuff. I can relate to what Chela was saying about finding the right moment and the perfect lesson and couching it and this and that. And I struggle with that. But most days I've just been like, hey guys, or hey, you all, what about this? What about that? And I'm just launching into it. The other thing I wanted to say is I also taught Marjorie Taylor Greene's daughter.
No.
She's else not far from me. And so the pervasiveness of the strong MAGA racist intolerance that's in my backyard is just hard. So thank you for tonight. It's been fantastic.
Thank you, Mary. I'm glad that it helped you. I'm angry right now. I am angry. I understand what you're saying. I'm always angry, but then I have to remember, gosh, these people are really sad. You know, I've had someone tell me, you're not a good teacher. What the heck? Why are you teacher of the year? You're not even a good teacher. Okay, now getting that and getting it from a person who's not your color is like, oh, what are you supposed to answer to that? Nothing. What can I say? Yeah, I am. No, I can't do that because
yeah, huh?
Yeah, huh? My mama said it. No, I can't do that. I had to
black and everything. Wow.
I had to just learn, and I learned this recently, Mary. I'm telling you, I learned this recently. I had to just start saying, "I'm angry." Cry. That's why in every webinar I'm in, I always cry. I don't cry today. I don't know why. But I always cry because it's in here. It's right here. And I got to get it out. And I have to go home and say, hey, this happened. And I feel uncomfortable about it. I'm very mad about it. My daughter is the only one. I understand how you feel because my kid is there. I'm a parent, but then I'm a teacher. I'm limited. I can't say, hey, you guys stop. No, I can't. I gotta be like, I gotta hold it in. I can't really say it. But when I go home, I tell everybody at home and I just say how I feel. And then I go back and I just remember what I'm there for. My doctor told me, I remember someone telling me, you need to just, abandon those people, abandon those people altogether and just leave. And then the doctor told me, no, you go right back there and you show them that you can shine. You get your behind, that's what she said, get your behind back in there and show them what you can do because they're waiting for you to fail. And it's like, I had to be like, I'm still feeling bad, but then I had to remember those things. I had to talk a lot, Mary. Find someone you could talk to because that anger has to go because then you start getting wrinkles and you don't want wrinkles, Mary. Mary, get rid of those wrinkles. You have to laugh. You have to laugh, watch comedy, watch all the comedy you want to laugh. Look at Mary, they're always laughing. She has no wrinkles on her face.
Goodness, I'm fine. Botox is cheap.
I mean, look at her. So I'm like, look, I can't allow this person to mess me up. I have kids. Look at them over there. I have to be an example. I just need to just let it go. Yeah. I remember that Mary did an improv. She did a comedy thing.
Doing an improv class. Right, exactly. To relax. I am relaxed.
I just told Mary this before this thing. I said, I'm so stressed out. like really right now, being totally honest, I'm like really stressed out. How the heck I don't have my cap and gown and I'm graduating next week, but I have too much going on. And then I have to deal with racism everywhere. Becoming a teacher of the year in Alabama, first one in Alabama to be in the region. Now I'm getting slack I've never had before. It's like, what? Oh, ever since you admitted you were Black, now you got this hate group. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go and find my refuge, and my refuge is in the teachers. Yep. My refuge is in SCOLT. All of them reach out to me, hey, are you okay? You're good. Let's help you over here. Let's help you over there. And I'm like, wow, really? There's more people for me than those against me. Absolutely. And I have to remember that. And you have that, Mary. There's more people for you than there are against you. Because if there were more against you, you'd be dead by now. Oh, God. You wouldn't be dead. There's no burning crosses in front of my house, thank God. But I mean, really, that's how I have to think, because if not, I would be a nervous wreck. I would be a wreck. But I always have to laugh. I get like my husband's mom used to say, take badness and laugh, because she didn't speak that much English. Just take the badness and laugh, and then get angry too. You have to get angry. The angry is healthy, but you just can't hold it in. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. I can't sing, Mary, but this is for you. Can't hold it back anymore. Let it go. Let me stop.
Right? Let me stop. That's so funny. Well, I was going to say too, like, there's also, for being, like, that's the part that we don't have conversations around, is sometimes how hard it is to teach some students. Like, we talk about students, like, in their behavior, and we go, oh, Tori's a lot. Like, she's really hard. She's reckless. And Tori's like,
that is accurate. I am a lot everywhere.
Tori is a lot and not enough at the same time. That's what I said about a student yesterday. I go, oh, that kid is too much and not enough at the same time.
No lie. I describe myself like that in all of my personal relationships. It's amazing that you just said that. I can't wait to tell my friends to hang up.
Amazing. I literally said that about a kid, and I was like, and he's really nice, but it's like, it's a roomie that doesn't do anything. He comes in, he's like, good morning, hola, sits in the room, 90 minutes, doesn't do any assignment. Like, I'm like, okay, why are you here? Like, this is weird. This is getting uncomfortable. But then goes to the bathroom for 40 minutes. Great, knock yourself out. Don't know, whatever. Like, okay, great. But a lot of times we do that in teaching. Like, teaching opens up a lot of haters because it opens up a lot of vulnerability. And then you win something, or you share something, or you whatever. And you start feeling like, I don't know, you feel like you're dedicating your energy towards like worrying about that. And it's like, okay, I can't, because that's going to be so exhausting that if I start dedicating energy toward that, what suffers? My teaching, or my personal life, my family, whatever. But that's the thing we don't talk about enough, is like how hard it is to teach some of our students when they are just philosophically so misaligned with our value system and literally our worth as people, you know, in some ways, whatever it is, if it's religion wise, like you were saying, Mary, or if it's like race or origin, or just literally like, yeah, I don't think these lives matter. And they're just kind of like unabashed. And the fact that our work is so personal that we have to, you know, like, and kind of like keep doing the good, like it's exhausting. Our job is exhausting in ways people can't even conceptualize, I think. So true. Oh, thank you so much. I have so much to think about, and I know you guys are appreciative too. I can't thank you enough for your time, for your energy, for your honesty. Like Mary said, like just like really sigh of relief. It's hard. It's hard. Everything is hard, and it's, you know, like the ebb and flow of hard these days is just, it's hard conversations, it's hard situations, we're just managing a lot, and we're managing, I feel like also a lot of reflection and a lot of privilege points and a lot of input, you know, if it's like looking at this news, or Mary, like you were saying, feeling like you're surrounded, like you feel like the walls kind of cave in a little bit because you're surrounded by this like crap that doesn't feel supportive and doesn't feel healthy, and all of that. So thank you for obviously being our guest, but for really,
it was my pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm so my neighbor
for you. And right, thank you, neighbor to neighbor. Also, hope you get that cap and gown, because
oh my gosh, if anybody knows how I can get a navy blue cap and gown last minute for a master's degree, tell me. I can't find
they have to be solid.
Can you like only black cap and gown?
Maybe Amazon? Or can I Amazon Prime it?
I went there, so it's okay. I'll figure it out. Somebody told me I should dye a white one. I'm like, how do you dye a white one navy blue? I already had to pay $195 for one. It's like, no.
Right.
It'll be okay.
I'm wondering, like people dye like prom shoes and like wedding shoes. I wonder why you couldn't dye. I don't know. That seems like a home project going.
So much money to buy one, you know.
It seems like a recipe for disaster. Don't do it. It'll be dyed. It'll be like melted all over you into your clothes. You're like da 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 da. And it's like you're gonna like Rudy Giuliani, like blue streaming down your face.
Someone
what happened to Jenniffer?
Black one. They said get a black one. I'm like, I'm gonna be the only black.
Only one.
No, I don't need to.
Black. I can't.
We're driving all the way to Virginia for me to graduate, because it took me 5 years to get my master's, so I'm driving the damn thing.
Okay.
You know, wouldn't you want to see people face to face? I want to see one professor I had. Yeah, I want to drive. I'm gonna take 3 days off.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna go
there.
I'm gonna cry. I'm like, Mommy, this is for you.
This is for you. What's on her face? It's the dye.
My husband said, please take a better picture than the bachelor's, because the bachelor's degree, that took me a long time too. So the makeup was like this, and it came out everywhere. It's like they made pictures of it, and I looked horrible. And he said, please, honey, can you not cry this time so that we could take good pictures? Like, I'm not promising.
And make no guarantees.
Cry after. I have to cry. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. Right. I know you have to go. I know it's late. Thank you so much.
Before you go, my students, they think it's the rudest thing to be like, who asked you? So, you know, if anybody's like, you're not even a good teacher, who asked you? They just find it, they're like, oh, they think it's so terrible.
Oh,
yeah. For sure.
Who asked you?
Yeah, like a ton of breaks.
And who asked you?
Yeah, I couldn't react. I'm like, you said what?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
I get extra nice then. I'm like, oh, thank you so much for your unsolicited opinion. I'm going to throw it in the trash where it belongs.
Thank you. Let me quit. I super care. Not. Like,
I know. No, I gave an earful, but it was nice. It was kind of like, you've never been in my shoes, so you're sad.
Again, sandwich it with sweetie.
You don't know what I've done through.
You're fine.
Sweetie pie, you're good. Sweetie pie, go back to your wife. Where is she? Oh, I'm sorry. She gone. Like, no, I didn't do that. Joseph, I didn't say that. In my head it was. I said that in my head. Really nicely. And I went like this in my head.
Thank you.
But in the outside I was like, no, sir, you don't know what shoes I've walked. Have you walked in my shoes?
Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Check it.
Bye,
everybody. Yay. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.